I start out by saying my life is blessed. But I do have a wilderness story. In early 2020, I applied for some life insurance, and I got declined. And on the thing it said some sort of wording that said to me, bad lab result. So I go to the doctor. I tell her, well, I guess I better go get this checked out. So I go to the doctor and I get examined, and he goes, yeah, I think you need to get a scan, and I think you need to, we need to do a PSA test. I said, okay. So the lab report came back a few days later, and my PSA was 436. Now, you're not supposed to be over 4. So, yeah, I was an overachiever. It had been about 2.5 the year before. So he goes, and then all about right this time, the pandemic hit. Things are getting crazy. I'd been sent home from work, just working from home full time, and there's just a lot of weirdness going on. He goes, I need to get you to a urologist. I said, okay. So I go do that. I get scanned, and the urologist comes back and he says, I hate to tell you this in the middle of a pandemic, but you have prostate cancer. And I'm devastated. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Not me. Yeah, you do. Your PSA is 436, your Gleason number's 9, and we need to do something. So I'm like, what? Can anything be done? He goes, well, you have another problem. Your scan shows it's metastasized, and you have it just about 4 spots in your bones and in your lymph nodes. And I never experienced anything like that. And thankfully, even though it was a pandemic, they let Sean come back. And the urologist's name is Dr. Wolszak. And I'll never forget how amazing he was. And so she's sitting there with me, and he goes, you got dealt a bad hand. And I'm like, now you're speaking a language I can understand. He goes, you're too young to be in this situation, but this is where we are. And I'm like, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, what does it even mean? I mean, and you don't want to ask the question, right? Can you treat this? I mean, you don't even want to ask that question. He goes, oh, yeah, we can treat it. And new treatments are coming out all the time. And so I'm like, okay, I guess let's do whatever we have to do. He goes, I'm going to refer you to a medical oncologist. I said, okay, and then we go home and we cry, and I call my family. So my daughter lives here in Pearland, my oldest daughter, and my youngest daughter's a nurse, and my youngest brother lives in Tomball. They're all calling me, telling me this is what you got to do. But my brother and my daughter here in Pearland said, you got to go to MD Anderson. And I said, well, my urologist referred me to a guy. I'm going to go see him. No, you got to go to MD Anderson. I said, okay, well, let me go see. I'm just in a fog bank. I'm just walking through a dream. I don't even know what I'm doing. So my brother has a good friend who works down in the med center here in Houston. And he calls his friend and he goes, my brother just diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I'm beside myself. Is there somebody we can talk to that I can get him to talk to him? And she goes, well, let me ask around. Well, there's this some bigwig, medical oncologist down in the med center that she knows. And she calls this guy, and he gives her his cell phone number to give to my brother, to give to me. He doesn't know my brother, and he doesn't know me. And he says, tell him to call me tonight. And I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, you're not supposed to even do that, I don't think. Like, you're not even supposed to, without charging somebody, you're just going to take a phone, you're going to give some stranger your cell phone. So I call him that night, and Sean's with me on the phone. He answers the phone. And all I know, I don't even know who he is. And I explained who I am. I said, Doctor, I got your number through my brother, through a friend, someone you know that you work with down in the Houston Med Center. I live in Arizona, and I don't know how else to explain who I am. He goes, first of all, call me John. I said, okay, John. And then he says, I don't trust doctors. I said, okay, so far, things are going great. He goes, have you had a scan? And I told him, yes. He goes, did you get a DVD of it? I said, yes. What's your PSA? I told him. What's your Gleason number? I told him. He goes, take a picture of the scan and text it to me. So Sean had a DVD player. We put it in, and he's on the phone. He's talking, and I take a picture, and I send it to him. He goes, okay, this is not too bad. People in your situation with a high PSA, even though it's metastasized, it's only in a few spots. And he goes, and one of these places in the ribs, he goes, I think that's a football injury. I don't even think that that's real. And I said, yeah, that could be. And he goes, this is what I would do. This is what I'd put you on. We're going to start you on Lupron. We're going to do all these things, which the doctors there had told me. But he's the first person that I felt like wasn't just interested in his tea time, like he was really invested. And he gave us a breath of life. So I said, I cannot thank you enough. He goes, it's no problem. He goes, who are you? And then in the meantime, I had gone to the guy that my urologist referred me to. He wasn't interested in my case. So I did sign up, get an appointment at MD Anderson in Phoenix. And I said, I have an appointment with MD Anderson out here. And he goes, who's your doctor? I said, his name's Dr. Rao. He goes, I know him. He said, when you're in the office with Dr. Rao, you call me. Tell me what he says, and I'm going to tell you what I think. I said, okay. So I go see Dr. Rao. It's all good. Dr. John answers the phone. And Dr. Rao was great. And I told her, when I went in to MD Anderson, it's like I had a team on my side. It was the first time I felt like I wasn't just all alone. So in the meantime, I'm working it from home full time, and I promised her one thing that I would never make her spend the rest of her life in the desert because she loves water and there's not any there. So I had told her already, I said, just start looking. If you find a place, we'll move. We'll go wherever. And she found this place. And these wonderful people. And I had a lot of love at the church back there. People were very supportive, and I had a lot of love, but it just, I didn't know what to expect. And so she gets to interview here, and she interviews, and then we fly down here, and everybody's great. And then you guys offered her the call, and she said yes, and here we are moving. 2020 is a very interesting year for a lot of people in the world, but for us, certainly.
Can I interject one thing? We did not know when I interviewed here that he was sick. So that came shortly after that.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't want people there to know I'm sick because I don't want them to think I'm the sick guy when I come in. And I said, it's yours. I honor whatever you want to do.
So we fast forward a couple of months. She gets the call here. And once we know we're moving here, I called the League City, MD Anderson, and I said, I'm moving here. I've been at MD Anderson in Mesa. And I need to set up an appointment for League City. And they said, well, currently we don't have a medical oncologist. You have to go down to the med center. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that. But then the girl comes back. She goes, although they're sending us a new one on September 5th. If you can wait till September 5th, which was a Friday, we have a new medical oncologist coming out here that's going to start on September 5th. And we were interviewing here in July and moving in August. I said, that's fine. Let's do that. So we get out here and we get in place, and I go to, and they said, our first appointment's 8 a.m. I said, perfect, I'll do that. So I go out there and I go to the appointment here in League City, and it's all new. Even though it's MD Anderson, it's all new people. It's just very different. And they call me back, and I'm back there, when they call you back and you're just waiting. I don't even know the doctor's name. The doctor walks in, and I said, hello, doctor, my name's Danny. He goes, call me John. I said, what? You're Dr. John? I called him Dr. John. He goes, where do I know you from? And I told him the story. I said, do you remember back in, I think it was May, we talked. I lived in Arizona, and you had given the phone number to my brother, and it was your son's birthday party that night. He goes, oh my gosh, that was you? What are you doing here? I said, well, it turns out now I live here. My wife got a call at a church in Texas City. He goes, what are the odds? I said, I don't even know. He goes, I said, why are you here? And he said, they wanted some of the senior people to go out to some of the satellite locations. I'm only here on Fridays, and this is my first Friday here. He goes, your wife's a pastor, so I'm assuming you believe in God. I said, I do. He goes, there's been some intervention here. He goes, I'm going to consider it my personal job to keep you healthy. So if you don't believe in prayer, trust me, it works. And if you don't believe that angels exist, trust me, they do. Amen.